as you know, if you've watched our project introduction video, I'm Jenny, Education Officer for the Marine Conservation Society, also known as MCS. We're the UK charity working to protect our seas, shores and our wildlife. So we've got 10 schools taking part in the project, and I think most of you will be joining us to watch this on a video so that you've got the live webinar to watch. So in terms of the format of the webinar today, there'll be some bits for you to listen to, there'll be some bits of the presentation to watch, and you'll also be able to have a chat in your schools with your teachers as well. Teachers, as I said in the email, you'll need to have a blank map of your area so that you can mark on the rivers, and you'll need to be able to access Google Maps as well. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so first off, teachers, could you choose one person in your group to tell us what litter is and add their answers to the chat? When you answer, can you make sure that you send it to organisers and panellists from the drop-down menu so that we can see your answers? You'll only have to do this once. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, that's excellent. Fantastic. So, yeah, we define litter as being rubbish such as paper, cans or bottles that's left lying in an open or public place. So this could be dropped, it could be left behind by mistake or even on purpose, or it could even blow from a bin. It doesn't really matter whether it's left on the floor or on, say, a window ledge, a wall, or maybe even in any other place, like a classroom even. Even items that are flushed down the loo can become litter on our beaches. So things like wet wipes and cotton buds, for example. If it isn't meant to be there and it's left unwanted, it is essentially litter. So I'm going to start by thinking about what you found during your litter survey. So I've collated the results that we've had back in, and it looks like the most common litter items found were cigarette butts. Now some schools did their survey outside of school grounds. I'm kind of hoping that cigarette butts weren't found in school grounds. And some schools chose to do that only within their school, the school area. The most common material found across all of the areas was plastic. Okay, so what was your common litter item and material? You can add your answers to the chat now if you would like. Okay, so it looks like most people found that plastic was the most common litter item, and things like paper and things like that. Let's have a quick look. Okay, we've got plastic cups being found as the most popular item. Again, as I said, most of the time we do find that plastic is one of the most frequent things that's popular, and we're going to look at why that might be later on. Okay. So would it be fair to say that you think that litter is a problem in your area? Having thought about what you found, do you think it was a problem where you live and where you go to school? While you're having to think about that and adding your message into the chat panel, I'll just have to talk about some of the more unusual things that were found. So one school found trolleys in their local area, and actually that again can be quite common out and about. And another school actually found some schoolwork litter in their area. So they found some food technology notes litter in their area, which I don't suppose teachers would be very pleased about. You can just see, yeah, you can see schools saying here to me that, yeah, it's been a big problem. So we think that there is pretty much a problem in most areas with litter, which is why we're doing the project we're doing. Okay, so we've just got a quick video clip to show you, and it tells us what happens to 3 different plastic bottles. So as I said, plastic bottles like this are frequently found when we do our litter surveys, when we go out onto beaches, and that's partly because they're so commonly used. So I'm just going to have a little watch of this video, and then we'll have a chat about it afterwards. In your classes, can you have a quick 5-minute chat about what happened to each of those bottles in the video? And so if everyone could be able to carry on, come back and have a chat again in 5 minutes' time, that would be great. Okay, are we all ready? Great, that's fantastic. So which do you think was the best option? So do you think it would be to throw the bottle away? Do you think that it is better to recycle the bottle? Which one of those options do you think will be the best course of action? Okay, I'm just going to have a look in the chat window now. Absolutely, recycle the bottle. So if we recycle the bottle, then it can become something else and it's not going to be become wasted. So much of the litter that we find when we do our litter surveys, similarly to the surveys you do really, much of what we find, not just plastic even, can be recycled and it can be made into other items. It has a value therefore, and it should never be thrown into the bin, or obviously it should never ever be dropped as litter. So anything that we can recycle, we want to be recycling, because that way it can become something else. So, excuse me, because plastic lasts for such a long time, the environmental impacts can be huge when it's littered. It doesn't just apply to plastic bottles like we saw in the video, but any litter made from plastic. The impacts extend beyond injuring or killing wildlife, and the impacts can be what we call systemic. So that's a bit of a complicated word. What we mean by that is it can impact wider than just in an individual situation. So I'll give you an example. What we saw in the animation, when plastic breaks down, it becomes smaller and smaller plastic pieces. And it never actually truly degrades and disappears in our environment. So it can actually enter the food chain. So if you think back to the animation, we saw that the fish can eat the plastic when it's in the ocean. Then that impacts creatures across the food web. So it impacts the creatures that eat those fish, and it can even impact humans because we then eat those fish. Okay, so what's the big deal about plastic? Well, plastic is an amazing material. Most of the items we use every day are made with at least some plastic. If you have a look at those images there, each of those images contains a large amount of plastic. If you think back to this morning, your toothbrush, your hairbrush, and even some of the clothes you wear. I think about what I'm wearing at the moment. My t-shirt definitely has some parts of plastic in it, and I'm wearing a pair of leggings. They have elements of plastic in them too, and it's probably true for the clothes you're wearing. In fact, many of the parts on the computer that you're probably using to watch this webinar are plastic, and the chairs and the tables that you normally sit at school, they've probably got plastic in them as well. So plastic is central to modern life. The amazing properties of plastic that make it so useful to us are also, unfortunately, what makes it such a problem if it's littered. It's very durable, it's quite strong and tough, and it only breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, as I said. It's really lightweight too, so it floats in water. This means that it can cause huge problems in the environment. Not only can it injure and kill wildlife, but it can reach the ocean from areas far away, causing problems for many, many years to come. Okay. So the problem of litter isn't the fault of the material though. Littering, regardless of what the litter is and what the litter is made of, is a problem of human behaviour. It's because we're doing the wrong thing with the items. We need to buy less in the first place, so that we create less waste. We need to avoid buying items and their packaging that are only used once and can't be recycled. Many kinds of plastic, although not all of them, can be usefully recycled. And because plastic is so long-lasting, it's even more important to do the right thing with it and recycle. We need to do the right thing with our waste that we produce, regardless of what it's made from. So, whilst you should only buy what you need, and you should avoid buying items that are used once and can't be recycled, plastic can have its advantages. So for example, plastic packaging on food means that it can be more easily transported, and it lasts for longer. So if it's packed in plastic, it means that it won't go off as quickly. And because plastic's light, it takes less fuel to transport it, and then that means that we create less dangerous fumes going into the atmosphere from the transportation of items. So if you want to find out more ways that plastic can save, check out this infographic just here, Plastic Saves. Now, that infographic, if you're watching this as a recording, you can access that at bit.ly, bit.ly/2MCU, capital G, 3, capital P. And if you're watching this as the live webinar, then you can access it in just underneath the handout section in your control panel. So you can download it and then you can have a look at that later on in your classes. I really recommend that you have a look at that because there's heaps of information on it. Okay, so how does litter reach the sea? Well, wherever we live, we're connected to the ocean. We have streams and rivers and waterways and even drains in our street all lead out to the ocean. And that means that anything that's dropped or blows into one of these waterways can and does reach the ocean. So wherever you live, as I said, they're going to be street drains. They lead into streams or rivers, and then they in turn lead out into the ocean. And they can take litter out, and that's how we find litter on beaches. So teachers, if you would like to pull out Google Maps on your screens now and make sure that everybody has their blank map, by zooming into the map, if we have a look at them down for a second, you can find our local area. You can zoom into Google Maps. So for example, I'm in Ross-on-Wye at the moment, and I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger so you can see it a bit more clearly. So I'm pretty much about there at the moment in Ross-on-Wye, just at the end of the M50, in my headquarters. Now, there's streams locally and there's drainage ditches on the edge of fields and so on. I'm in a rural area, so we've got drainage ditches rather than curbs and bigger drains like that. Now, if I pull this around, we can see that from where I am, we've got to assume there's little rivers and streams. Now, if you look, this is my local main river, and this is what you're going to be doing in a second. So that local river is called the Wye, and it winds its way all the way down. If I pull it out, it meanders all the way around, and ultimately, the River Wye, just dragging it over, comes all the way down to Chester, down here, and it goes out into the Severn. Now, if I zoom out again, the Severn is an estuary, so the Severn joins into the ocean. So from my local area, things can blow, litter can blow into streams and drainage ditches, and they will then go into the Wye, and from the Wye that goes directly out to the sea. So if you can now find on Google Maps your location, and teachers, if you could guide your students to identify their local river, it's probably going to be about finding the local river. You might even be able to see some of the streams that go into it. And if you could guide your students to mark these onto their blank maps to show routes from where you are into the sea, and we'll have about 15 minutes to complete this, and then we'll meet back here for part 2. Excellent. Okay, hi guys, welcome back. So hopefully you'll be able to find how your litter from your area might be able to get out and reach the ocean. So now we're going to move on and have a look and thoughts about some of the ways that litter can impact our environment. So just to give you a bit of background, as part of our work as MCS, Marine Conservation Society, remember, we run beach cleans where we collect and we survey litter. We've been doing this for over 20 years, so we've been able to see patterns in litter. So we take surveys, very much like the ones that you used in school to take your litter surveys. It's a bit more complicated, but it's the one that we use is based on the one we use as an organisation. We've been doing this for over 20 years, as I said, and we can therefore see patterns in litter. Helps us to identify particular items which may be an issue. So in 2016, we collected an average of 649 items per 100 metres of beach cleaned. So if you think about sports day, when you do the 100-metre sprint, I'm sure most of you have got experience of doing the 100-metre sprint, in that distance we found 649 items, and that's an average. So in some areas we've found a lot more than that, and equally we may have found less in some areas too. I'm sure you know how averages work. But that means that it's a piece of litter like this. This is actual beach litter. You can see that bottles come out of the sea because it's all kind of it's a bit more opaque than it normally would be, and this ball's gone a bit faded where it's been in the ocean. So it's a piece of litter like this for every few steps that you are walking along beaches. So almost a third of that litter came from the public. Well, that's you and me. But there is good news. Change is absolutely possible. It's not all bad news. For example, we've been able to use the data that we collect to campaign for the recent carrier bag levy in England. So, as you've seen, wherever we live, litter can reach our ocean. And as the ocean is all joined up, it all connects into each other, litter can cross between countries. So it's not a local issue in your area, or my area, or our country. It's a global issue. It's an issue all around the world, and we all need to work together to try and find some resolutions for it. So, first of all, why does this actually matter? Why does it matter if litter gets into our ocean? Because, after all, what did the ocean ever do for us? Let's have a look. What did the ocean ever do for us? all know that the ocean's really big, but does it really make a difference to our lives? Let's think about this for a moment. Did you know that every second breath you take comes from the ocean? That's because it's full of tiny plant-like organisms called phytoplankton. These produce about 50% of the oxygen we breathe. Not only that, the ocean is central to the water cycle, which provides us with fresh water to drink. So that's two of the major things humans need to survive covered: oxygen and water. Our climate on Earth is also controlled by the ocean, as ocean currents move heat around the world. As the ocean covers 70% of the Earth, it's vital to international trade and travel. So most of big items in your home, like washing machines, fridges, and even cars, is probably being transported across the seas from where they were made. Worldwide, the ocean provides an important source of food and medicines, and many people make a living from the ocean too. As well as all of this, being in the ocean is great for our health and well-being. When we spend time at the beach enjoying water sports, building sandcastles, or eating ice creams, we're happier and more relaxed. So, does the ocean really make a difference to our lives? The ocean is vital to us, but we're not looking after it. It's time to make a change. What will you do to make a difference? So, as you've just seen, our ocean is vital to life on Earth. We need to look after it if we're to survive. It's just that simple. So in terms of what you'll do to make a difference, well, you already are. You're taking part in CSI Litter Challenge, and through this project you're going to learn how else you can make a difference. So if you wanted to watch this animation again in your school or even at home, it's on our MCS YouTube channel, so go and have a look and share it far and wide. So what are the impacts of litter? If you have a look at some of these images, you can see some pretty horrible pictures, to be perfectly honest, or that's certainly my opinion. If you have a look, you can see various things: some litter in the streets, some litter on beaches, some litter impacting animals even. So what I'd like you to do in your class groups, can you discuss the images shown? And I want you to brainstorm in your groups the impacts of litter. To do this, have a think about the environment, the economy, so that's the financial impacts of litter, and society, so the impact on people and their communities. And then you're going to choose your top 3 impacts, and we'll spend about 10 minutes to have a little think about this. Okay, so has everyone chosen their top 3 impacts? Excellent. Excuse me. Okay, keep those impacts in mind, and let's have a little look at an infographic that I've put together. So all of the facts in these different infographics have come from research papers, and actually, well, if you want to download this later on, you'll see there are some references. Let me just hover over so you can see where those references are. They're down at the bottom just here. So teachers, you can download this infographic from the handout section in your main control panel, and if you're watching the recording, you can find this at bit.ly/2MW_E_X_J3, and then you can download it and have a look at it, keep it in your classrooms. So let's have a look at this infographic. Okay, so it costs around £800 million a year to clean litter from UK streets. So there we go, there's an economic cost to litter. People don't want to be in littered places, so it impacts local businesses, local tourism and communities in general. 80% of litter in the sea comes from the land. 62% of people in England drop litter, but only 28% admit to it. Okay. There's 30 million tonnes of litter is collected from England streets each year. That's enough to fill Wembley Stadium 4 times. Wow, that's a lot of litter. 57% of people in England think that litter is a problem in their area. So more than half of us think that we've got an issue. We said at the beginning that we're all pretty much in agreement with that. We think it's an issue. There are estimated to be 46,000 pieces of plastic per square mile in our ocean. So, yes, per square mile, just double checking I got that right. So that's 46,000 pieces. That is a ridiculous number of plastic pieces in our ocean. If we think about how big our ocean is in general, that's a lot of litter in the whole thing. So litter injures and kills wildlife, we've said that before, both on the land and at sea as well. And litter, unfortunately, increases fear of crime and encourages other antisocial behaviour. So if we've got areas where there's lots of litter, there's often things like lots of graffiti as well. Or there might be cars being broken into and things being stolen. It rubs off, and there are other problems that come hand in hand with it as well. Not so great. So there are problems with, let me just get back onto the screen. There are problems for the environment, the economy, the money that we get from an area, and society as well. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's webinar. So let's recap a little bit on what we've learned. So for this, you're going to need to use your thumbs up and thumbs down response cards. So these were sent through to schools. They're in your resource pack. So for each statement that I put up on this board, what I would like you to do is show whether you agree or you disagree. So if you think the statement is true, you're going to give a thumbs up. If it's false, guess what? You're going to give it a thumbs down. But please don't worry about what other people next to you or your mates say. I'd like you to make these your own answers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge your cameras on my end and I'm going to take a quick photograph. So if anyone doesn't want to be in the photo, you can just, and this is my card, hold your card up against your face and then we can't see who you are. Okay, if you're watching this as a recording, this is really important evaluation for us to see what your students have learned. So it would be really, really good if you could please email your answers to education@mcsuk.org. That information will help us to evaluate our entire project really, so we'd really, really appreciate you doing that. So if you could just, when your email is number 1 to 10 for the statements, and then give us the number of true answers and the number of false, that would be fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at some of these questions then. So, litter is rubbish left or dropped, or which is blown into a public area. Is that true? If you think it's true, give us a big thumbs up. If you think that's false, give us a thumbs down. Just give you a moment or two to have a think about that one. Okay, fantastic. See some answers here. I'm just going to have a quick look. Yes, it's a big problem. Okay, let's have a look at the next statement then. Okay, our next statement is, plastic isn't that important in our daily lives. Do we think that's true? Plastic isn't important, we don't use it, doesn't help us, or do we think that's a big fat false? Give us your answers. No. Okay. And statement 3. Litter, let me show you statement 3. Litter is caused by humans doing the wrong thing, not by a particular product or not by a particular material. So do you think that litter is a human issue? Give us a thumbs up. And if you think that it's not and it's all because of a particular kind of item or material, give us a thumbs down. Okay, let's move on. Statement number 4. Litter doesn't really matter. It's got very little impact on our world. If you think that's true, thumbs up. If you think that's false, thumbs down. can see people going. Okay. Statement number 5. Plastic litter is a particular concern because it lasts for a very long time. Thumbs up if you think that's true, and thumbs down if you think it's not true. Okay, number 6. Plastic has benefits too. For example, it can keep food fresher for longer. It's light, so it takes less energy to transport. It can be recycled, and not only that, it makes great insulation for houses and buildings too. If you agree, give us a thumbs up. If you think that's not true, give us a thumbs down. Okay, I can see some answers coming through. I probably shouldn't be telling everyone what these answers are. I should be letting you think about them yourself. Fantastic. Okay, next one. Number 7. If we live inland, we have nothing to do with litter in the sea. Nothing to do with it at all. If you agree with that, thumbs up, and if you disagree, thumbs down. Okay, we've got one last statement. Okay, the ocean is vital to life on Earth. If you think that is true, give it a thumbs up, and if you think it's false, give it a thumbs down. Okay, fantastic. Now, those of you watching this recording, please do send us your answers. I'll give you the email address again. It's education@mcsuk.org. Please do send us that 8 little answers there, because that's really useful, as I said, for our evaluations. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us today. I hope you've learned a little bit more about the problem of litter, and I really look forward to seeing you in our next webinar, which is going to be on Friday the 10th of March. If you can't make the live webinar, we'll do the same as we've done today. You can always access the recording from MCS's YouTube channel the following day. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.